Hello, Patriots. Welcome back to the Conservative Crows, where we discuss the current government's actions and policies that we believe are detrimental to our constitutional republic and the American way of life. Today, we're diving into a hot topic that's been making headlines lately: the ongoing border crisis and the tension between Texas and the federal government. Let's get right into it. Now, Texas has been vocal about its desire to close the border, citing concerns over security, public safety, and the strain on resources. Many argue that the state has the constitutional right to protect its citizens and control its borders.
And one of the strongest acts of defiance for a modern-day governor, Greg Abbott, has declared the border crisis an invasion and invoked Texas's constitutional right to self-defense.
The authors of the Constitution knew there would be times when the federal government would not live up to its duty. Texas has a right, as a state, to stop criminals from coming into our state.
The argument centers around the Article 1, Section 10, Paragraph 3 of the Constitution, which reads, "No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty of tonnage, keep troops, or ships of war in time of peace, enter into any agreement or compact with another state, or with a foreign power, or engage in war, unless actually invaded, or in such imminent danger as will not admit of delay," as well as the 10th Amendment, which reserves powers not delegated to the federal government to the states. Texas believes that managing immigration falls within its purview, especially when it comes to safeguarding its communities. Proponents of Texas's stance point to the Constitution, asserting that the state has the right to enact and enforce its own immigration policies. They argue that the federal government's failure to address border security leaves Texas with no choice but to take matters into its own hands.
In a letter posted on X, Greg Abbott cited founding fathers James Madison and Alexander Hamilton not leaving states to the mercy of outside threats. Because the federal government had failed to follow its constitutional duty to, quote, protect each state against invasion, Abbott wrote, it triggers the line acknowledging the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders. That authority, Abbott wrote, supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary.
This has led to clashes over policies such as border wall construction, installation of razor wire, and the deployment of state resources to manage the situation. Even though the Supreme Court has sided with the Biden administration and ordering Texas to remove the razor wire, Texas is standing firm on its position, refusing to remove the wire or let federal border patrol near the area.
The very latest on the border right now, the crisis in a standoff over the use of razor wire. Today, new video shows even more razor wire being put in along a contested section of the U.S.-Mexico border. This is happening even after the Supreme Court on Monday voted to let federal Border Patrol agents remove all of that wire. The razor wire was installed as part of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's security initiative at the border known as Operation Lone Star. The Biden administration arguing now the razor wire prevents Border Patrol agents from doing their job.
Texas is also being backed by 25 other states, who have pledged support and state National Guard troops to aid Texas in securing our border.
South Dakota not alone in signaling its support for Texas. 25 governors joined a united front with Texas and what they say was the state's constitutional right to self-defense. Every Republican governor signed a public statement except Vermont's Phil Scott, who voted for Biden in 2020. The Republican Governors Association did release a statement that said in part, instead of upholding the rule of law and securing the border, the Biden administration has attacked and sued Texas for stepping up to protect American citizens from historic levels of illegal immigrants, deadly drugs like fentanyl, and terrorists entering our country. Former President Trump backing them up, writing, "We encourage all willing states to deploy their guards to Texas to prevent the entry of illegals and to remove them back across the border."
On the flip side, the federal government insists on maintaining a more open border policy. Advocates argue that the United States has a historical commitment to welcoming immigrants and providing refuge to those seeking a better life. The federal perspective emphasizes the importance of comprehensive immigration reform and addressing the root causes of migration, rather than focusing solely on border enforcement. One key argument for a more open border is the economic contribution of immigrants. The federal government contends that immigrants play a crucial role in the workforce and contribute to the overall growth of the economy. Additionally, there's a humanitarian aspect, with advocates emphasizing the responsibility to provide asylum and protection to those fleeing violence and persecution. Let's talk about numbers. Since 2020, the influx of illegal immigrants into the United States has been a significant concern. Between 10 million and 20 million migrants have been reported illegally entering the United States since President Joe Biden took office in January 2021, the greatest number in American history and of any administration. These numbers fuel the debate, with Texas arguing that the sheer volume places an unsustainable burden on its resources and necessitates stronger border controls, in the fact that several have been identified as being on the terrorist watch list, which is a clear and present danger to America and its citizens and is a clear invasion perpetrated by the Biden administration. Let's be clear. Many Americans believe, and the evidence seems to show, that the underlying reason the Democrats and the Biden administration wants the uncontrolled influx of illegal immigrants is to secure their position of power, and they don't care about the fentanyl killing Americans nor the human trafficking or any of the other major concerns caused by illegals. They know that the immigrants will vote for them, and they have already taken steps to allow them to vote, even though our laws specifically say that non-citizens are not allowed to vote. 18 U.S.C. 611 states, "It shall be unlawful for any alien to vote in any election held solely or in part for the purpose of electing a candidate for the office of President, Vice President, Presidential Elector, Member of the Senate, Member of the House of Representatives, Delegate from the District of Columbia, or Resident Commissioner." The Biden administration has proposed a new national identification card system for undocumented immigrants. The ICE Secure Docket Card program would give migrants who cross the U.S.-Mexico border and other immigrants without legal status temporary ID cards, and in turn, a legal way to identify themselves, as they navigate their immigration cases or removal court proceedings, as well as a means to vote. Another ploy Democrats are using is to redistrict conservative GOP voting areas by moving illegal migrants into those areas, in effect turning them blue.
Honestly, when Democrats show you something shiny, what else are they covering up? Folks, this showdown over the border is taking the news cycle away from what the true intention of this mass migration actually seeks to achieve. What's that? Altering the electoral districts by influencing the census. Folks, when Joe Biden took office, he unilaterally started including illegal immigrants in the census. I know they can't vote, but that doesn't matter. Most ignored it. Most people didn't think it was a big deal, but it is. Why do you think the left is freaking out now that Republican governors have started sending the migrants that are going to deep blue cities all over the place? Why are they getting so angry about that? Because that will have the opposite effect of their plan. And when they get moved here by people like Greg Abbott, where do the Democrats send them then? Well, in New York's case, upstate. Why? That's a whole lot of red, not a lot of blue. And a mass flow of migrants to offset the census will allow Democrats to redraw congressional lines that are more favorable to Democrats. It's gerrymandering at its finest, under the guise of helping poor little migrants. You don't have to win the district if you can change who's in it. Move enough people around, and you can rope big cities that vote reliably blue into previously red rural districts and turn them blue overnight. All because you changed the census, moved a couple lines around on the district, without casting a single ballot. Case in point, look at Connecticut. Why does the 5th congressional district here have a weird shape off to the right? I'll tell you, the entirety of the 5th district, outside of that very little part on the right there, is very, very conservative, but it's also rural. Democrats needed to pull in the very left-leaning city and the suburbs of Hartford to offset that to ensure Democratic electoral victories in every district. Connecticut's basically a square. There's a reason that all 5 districts are not. And the left is going to do this in every single state by moving huge numbers of migrants to wherever suits them to redraw these lines. And they have 20 million migrants to move around. Do that math. Each congressional district is comprised of about 750,000 people. Most districts are plus or minus 1 to 4 points in either direction during an election. Republicans hold a 2-seat majority right now. If Democrats can move enough of the 20 million people to congressional districts to include one part of a densely populated liberal blue city into a red rural area like they did in Connecticut, they take back that House seat. Cities are 20 to 30 points in favor of Democrats in most places. Who cares if they have to shift 10 of those points into another district?
There seems to be more going on behind the scenes than a simple immigration issue. In conclusion, the clash between Texas and the federal government over the border crisis is complex, involving constitutional rights, security concerns, economic considerations, and humanitarian values. Finding a balance that respects both state and federal responsibilities while addressing the root causes of migration remains a challenge. As always, I encourage you to stay informed and engage in constructive discussions on this critical issue. Keep a vigilant eye on upcoming events, be prepared, and stay safe. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Thanks for joining me on the Conservative Crows, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.